Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Spencer TCG here. On a bit of a hiatus because of work, but now we're back in full strength. I love talking about the limited review guides. Today we're going to be doing the green cards. This set looks super fun to draft and play. The pre-release is coming up next weekend. And let's just get right into it. If you guys haven't seen these videos before, we'll go over the tier list. It's just a classic S through F, where S cards make you want to switch to the class all the way down to F, where they're just bad or like a little bit niche. Keep in mind that most of your deck will be in the C range, where they're just cards that you got to put in. Like you need a 2-drop, it's a 2-drop. Doesn't do anything special, but hey, it's a turn 1 play, right? Those B cards are the ones you're going to be wanting to look for, especially when you're drafting. The more B cards and up you have, the better your draft is going to go. Especially, actually, we should really say the less D cards you have in your draft, the better it's going to go. So really, we really want to get in that C to B range. But yes, we are starting with the bad guys in green. We got Count Dooku. This guy is super hard to evaluate. He has the action that just turns him sideways. Play a Separatist card from your hand. It gains Exploit 1. If you guys don't know what Exploit is, and because it's the first video, we'll say it. You can defeat a unit, and it makes that card cost 2 less. Now, this only works for Separatists, but there are quite a few in the set. There's also lots of 1/1 little droids running around, so I actually think his effect isn't that bad. Sacrificing a 1/1 is like sacrificing nothing, and if you're making a 6-cost card cost 4, sorry, that's pretty good, right? Like, I know it says Exploit 1, but it's getting 2 less, so like that's a pretty good discount, and I actually think that's really good, right? Like if you're cheating out a guy like that has like 3, 4, 5 more stats than it should on the turn, and you only lost 1/1 of stats, so 2 stats total, like that's really high value. I don't really like this guy on like classic units, but I can also see the scenario where you're able to, trade your 2/3 into a 2/2 on their field. Their droid, their clone trooper. We have the droids. Their clone trooper, and then you sack him off because he's just a 2/1 now. He's not really relevant, and you play your next bigger guy. I actually think Dooku's pretty cool in that regard. His biggest downside is that he deploys on 7, and I think that his on attack, making some guy have Exploit 3 is kind of irrelevant. I don't really know when we're killing 3 of our own guys. Like, what card can we possibly be playing that we need Exploit 3 in the late game? I don't know if our hand size is even big enough. We'll probably just cast the card for what it is instead of killing our guys. I do like that he has a 5/9 body with Overwhelm, though. Like, he's really tanky. This guy's going to be hard to remove. And because of that, I think I'm going to give Dooku a B. I think he's a solid leader. He actually might be an A. It really depends on the number of 1/1s that you make incidentally. Like, you don't want to spend your whole turn making 1/1s, because then when you get the discount, you kind of it's kind of like a resupply, but worse, right? You had to cheat. You had to cheat it out early in the game, lose some advantage early in the game to gain advantage future. So I'm going to put him in the B range, but I think in draft, especially in draft, this guy could go way up in value because you could have more Separatist cards, you can have more incidental ways to make 1/1s, and this card could definitely come out as like an A, maybe even an S at the end. But again, S cards are usually the ones you want to switch to, and Dooku you see right away, so he's more of a build around, and for that, I think the B to A range is more applicable. We'll see if I'm right or wrong about Dooku. Next up, we have Wat Tambor. I'm hopefully saying his name right. He deploys on 5 resources and is a 3/6, so his stats are just whatever. If a friendly unit was defeated this phase, you can give another unit +2/+2 for this phase. His effect is kind of hard to use, unless you have 1/1s, but if you consider the traditional sense of playing, here's my 2/3, next turn I'll play a 3/4. If they defeated my 2/3, well, it doesn't matter if I buff my 3/4 because it's not attacking this turn. The buff is also just for the phase. It's not forever. Would have been way cooler if I could just give a 1/1 counter. I think an experience counter would have been just a little bit better. Again, another leader where you have a bunch of 1/1s. I can see him a little bit more useful. His on attack is again, same thing. You need a bunch of units because he can't buff himself. God, I wish he could buff himself. If he could, I think he'd be a lot better. Swinging in for 5 would be very strong. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's a rare leader, so you're not going to see him as much. I think you probably always want to pick Dooku over him, and for that, I'm just going to give him a C. I don't think he's like a niche leader in any sense. Like, I think he's just fine. Like, if this is the leader you have, you'll be fine with it. You won't be too excited, but it'll be fine. And then we're going to talk about this base twice. So, droid manufactory. I mean, again, we really don't want to be double green. But if we had to be, this looks pretty good in Dooku. I mean, I would say like his like exploit 3, like I said, doesn't really come up, but hey, I deploy him, I make 2 battle droid tokens, and then I attack, kill him, and cheat something out and play another card. Like, that's a crazy swing turn. The problem is you pay 6 life to do this. This is a card that is probably better with leaders that deploy early, but I just kind of like it in Dooku because of the exploit. But this base is super hard to evaluate. Sacrificing 6 life sucks. In the past for set 1, I rated all the 25 health bases pretty low except for ECL, and even then I was a little hesitant on like the value you can gain from like a limited environment. This is a very big build around card. I think you consider it a little bit more in draft, but in pre-release, like, the stars really need to align for you to want to play Droid Manufactory. I'm going to give it a D. I think it's just too niche. But I don't think it's completely terrible. But I could be pretty wrong. I mean, losing 6 health is bad, but this is limited, and gaining free value is really nice. And unlike the 25 health bases, like, this value stays, right? I have my 1/1s, they're on the field, they don't go away next turn. So it could be pretty cool. All right, let's get into just the cards in general. We got Confederate Courier. It is a 2-cost 2/1 space unit. Is Separatist. When defeated, create a battle droid token. And yes, this card will be defeated. I like space units in general in my deck, but I don't like 2/1 space units, especially since there's a pretty high amount of 3/4 ones. And you're like, oh well, I'll swing for 2, and then then I'll make a 1/1. I don't really like this card at all. I think, he's a little cool in Dooku because you could play it, and then next turn you could play a 5-drop, by killing this guy and still get a 1/1. That's like kind of cool setup. I think this card is on the low end of C, but, it has more, low end of C just because of Dooku. If we're not Dooku, I don't really want to be playing this understated space unit. Even if our opponent never kills it, swinging for 2 every turn usually isn't enough to take over games, because we'll be behind on the ground, right, if our opponent just dodges us. Next up, we got Poggle the Lesser. It is a 2-costed 1/4 ground unit, Separatist and official. Excited for this card in Constructed, but when you play another unit, you may exhaust this unit. If you do, create a battle droid token. I really like value cards in Sealed, and this is the epitome of value. You play it turn 1, it has 4 HP, it's not going anywhere, and I don't need to attack for 1. I'm going to make my 1/1. So, you can imagine the scenario, you play it, it doesn't matter who has initiative, you play the card, let's say your opponent hits it with their 2 attack, you play your unit, you make a 1/1. Well, my opponent needs to play a card for the turn, so now they play the card, right? So even if we don't have initiative, like I said, it doesn't matter. We go to our next turn, we play another unit, tap it, and make another 1/1. And then if our opponent value trades, they had a 2/3, now it's dead, but they've had to attack it twice, so I've technically healed 4, and I trade my old 1/1 into the last guy, and I'm still off with a 1/1, and that is like best case scenario usually for our opponent. So, we healed 4 and retained a 1/1 unit on our board. I really like this card. I'm going to give him a B. Probably the high end of B. The reason he wouldn't be like an A or S or anything is because this card is pretty bad later in the game, but like crazy turn 1 play. Like this is the dream, especially in Dooku as a turn 1 play. Like, whoo boy, this in Dooku is like, I win. Next up, we got Droid Commando. It is a 3-costed 4/3 Separatist Droid Trooper unit. While you control another Separatist unit, it gains Ambush. I like its stats. Its stats are good enough to be a C. Sometimes it gains Ambush. That's pushing it to a B. I like cards that do stuff on demand. Will I control another Separatist unit? There are a lot of them. So, yeah. As a B, this card should just always be in your deck 100% of the time. Next up, we got Magna Guard Wing Leader. It is a 3-costed 3/4 space unit. Love those stats. Action, attack with a droid unit, then attack with another droid unit. Uses ability only once each round. Now, the 3/4s are actually a little bit more common in this set than they usually are, but I really, really like 3/4 space units. They answer usually all the space units the turn before, and they live, and the 4 health just makes them very sticky. 3 attack is more than 2, so they're a lot better at pressuring. I like this card. It's a B. It also has another effect for whatever reason. I don't know, you swing with your 2 1/1s before your opponent can do anything, kind of like a Leia, and I like that. So we're going to give this card a solid B. Next up, we got Kraken. It is a 5-costed 2/5 ground unit Separatist droid. As you see, they're all Separatist cards. When played, create 2 battle droid tokens, and on attack, give each friendly token +1/+1 for the phase. I like 3 bodies in 1. Obviously, he's a bad guy, so we're not getting like coordinate from him. But, you know, he could be future exploits. I mean, he could be current exploits. We could have, you know, Ventress in our deck. We make the 2 battle droid tokens, immediately sacrifice him, summon Ventress. Like that's you know, 9 stats. 9 resources of value on 5. I like that he makes tokens. I think he combos well with both the green dark side leaders. I don't think his on attack is like, you know, crazy strong. I think his stats are a little weak as well. You know, but if we add them all up with the 1/1s, you know, 3, 4, 4, 7 for 5 is pretty good. I like this card. I'm going to give it a B, probably the low range of B, but it probably should just go in your deck all the time. I mean, unless you have a lot of 5 drops, right? But this does good for the 5 drop slot. Next up, we have Kalani. Hopefully I said his name right. He is a 6-costed 5/7, like these stats, Separatist droid. On attack, you may choose another unit. If you have the initiative, you may choose up to 2 other units instead. Give each of the chosen units +2/+2 for this phase. I really general tend, I'm like being super nice to these cards. I really like on-rate bodies. I think a 6/7 is where this card should be, but I like that he has 7 health. I don't think this card is going anywhere the turn you play it. He has an on attack that might do something. I just really like 6 drops with 7 health. Like, these cards don't go anywhere, and because he has like another ability that it could sometimes be using, I think this card is also in the low range of B, and it should probably just always be in your deck unless you have a lot of other 6 drop options. But yeah, for pre-release, you see the 5 drop, you see the 6 drop, you just throw them in your deck if you're playing green. Next up, we have Admiral Trench. He's a 7-cost 5/5 ground unit with Exploit 1. Return up to 3 units that were defeated this phase from your discard pile to your hand. I don't like this guy's stats. His effect is kind of cool. It makes it seem like you have to do it off the exploit, but you don't. You could, you know, trade with your cards earlier, then play them, return them all to your hand. You could do the exploit too, but obviously if you exploit a token, he's not returning the token to your hand. You know, I really hate his stats. I'm not too crazy about value cards that are coming out this late in the game with bad stats. You know, like if you compare it to like Reinforcement Walker, it's like night and day, right? Reinforcement Walker is going to draw you multiple cards or heal you, and it's a 6/9. I think this card is on the low range of C. Like if you don't have any other big guys, like I guess you can play him. He's fine. But he does get cuttable pretty quick if you have anything else that's big, or if you want to be a little bit more low to the ground. Next up, we have Separatist Super Tank. It is a 9-costed 8/8 unit with Exploit 3. So a Dooku, you know, we can give this card Exploit 4, and we can make it cost 1 in Magical Fairyland. I don't know how we're making all those tokens, but maybe we could. I kind of like an 8/8 unit, to be honest. I think this card probably makes its way into your deck. And I think some games you're going to be like, wow, like I somehow have 3 1/1s and now I'm casting this card for dirt cheap and it's an 8/8. It doesn't have any extra stats, but again, or any extra abilities, but 8/8 is big. It kills pretty much everything. I'm going to give this card a C. Like, it's fine. It's cute. I do see scenarios where you're like, wow, this card is the superest. It won me the game, but I don't know, it's pretty expensive, and again, if it's hard in this format to retain droids and little 1/1s on your field, this card's gonna be pretty bad. It's very overstated. Like, you really need to be killing 1/1s and to cheat this card out. So that's why I'm gonna give it a C. It's just It's a little fringe. Next up, we have Reprocess. This card is actually super cool. Choose up to 4 units in your discard pile, put them on the bottom of your deck in a random order, and create that many Battle Droid tokens. So if we have 4 units in our discard pile, we return them all back, we get 4 1/1s, and we're ready to exploit. The problem is we're probably only getting 4 units in our discard pile by like 7 resources, unless we have some, I don't know, discard mechanic somehow. So this is a late game card that summons 1/1 bodies. I don't think that's good, sadly. I'm going to put this card as a D. I think it's niche. Like, you can't play it early, so you would have to just resource it. And when you play it late, like, you much rather be playing like the 6-drop 5/7 instead of 4 1/1s, in my opinion. And if you're like, well, you can use those 1/1s to, further exploit, sure, but then couldn't you just casted the exploit card instead of like using 2 whole cards to do that? So that's my opinion on it. We got Consolidation of Power. Choose any number of friendly units. You may play a unit from your hand if its cost is less than or equal to the combined power of the chosen units, for free, then defeat the chosen units. This card lets you play like some off-aspect stuff, but I really don't like killing our own guys. It's not anywhere near as good as Exploit because your units need to have some sort of power. He's kind of cool in the leader that gives something +2/+2 for the turn, but then this card also costs 6. Like, what am I cheating in by killing my own units and already paying 6 resources? This card's an F. Don't play it. If you open it in your pack, silently rip it up and then put it in the trash and continue on. All right, now we're going on to the good guys. So we got Captain Rex. He has action 2. If a friendly unit attack this phase, create a clone trooper token. So this is incredibly slow, but one of the nice things about Sealed is everything is weaker. So having an ability on demand where you can summon a 2/2 unit is actually super nice because you're not always going to curve out. So this effect is actually kind of a premium. And then when we go to his flip side, he's a 2/6. Yes, that's understated, but he comes with a 2/2. So total stats are 4/8 on 5 resources. Technically 4/9 because he's buffing his own trooper that he creates, and that is super nice. The 6 health is just high enough that I don't think he's going to get one-shot by anything when he gets flipped. Obviously the token could, but that's totally fine. I like Captain Rex. I think he is a solid choice. He's a rare, so you're not going to be able to do it as much, but we're going to give him a B for the leader. I like his ability to make tokens all throughout the game. Obviously, it is expensive, but it does help you fill out those curves, especially in the later parts of the game. You're just busting out 2/2s. Depending on how this format goes, if it's really fast or really slow, the slower the format is, the higher this card should be rated. But we're giving it a safe B for now, but we'll come back later and see if it should have been an A. Next up, we got Padme, and she has Coordinate, so we're finally getting to the Coordinate. Coordinate means you have to get 3 of the guys, and it includes themselves, to get some sort of effect. So hers is you can pay 1 to search the top 3 cards of your deck for a Republic card revealed and draw it. Again, I like value on a leader, but I usually like value when it goes onto the board a little bit more. She's a 2/7 that comes out on 5. She has Restore 1, which isn't completely insignificant, but it is a little insignificant. And she has the Coordinate effect again on attack. Search the top 3 cards of your deck for a Republic card, revealed, and draw it. I don't know. I don't think I really want to be paying 1. I'd much rather be trying to play to a curve. And if I missed my curve, drawing cards is okay, but then I need to have 3 dudes on the board. She's very awkward. I think she's going to be so awkward that it's just going to be hard to make use of her ability. And if you have 3 units on the board, you have like the ability to dictate more of that turn. And if you're like, well, I don't want to lose a unit, need to use her effect to draw a card. Well, now you're making your turn weaker because you're not playing to your curve, and you're letting your opponent have the initiative in what they want to attack that turn, which kind of defeats the purpose of you being wide in the first place. Overall, I think this leader is a D. Her stats are just a little low. Yeah, she has 7 health, so she's not really going anywhere, but I don't really know. Her ability doesn't, like... The whole combo of her ability and color, truthfully, don't really make sense to me, so I would stay away from this one. I'd much rather play Rex. Yeah, Rex. Talking about droid manufacturer again, I just want to talk about this base twice, because, I don't know, it's cool. So obviously, double green isn't the greatest, and you probably never want to do this with good guys. So just keep that in mind. This base does cost you 6 HP, but I do think it could be special. All right, we got Echo. He is a 2-costed 2/2 unit with Coordinate. This card is doggy doo-doo. But I will say later in the game, if you play it alongside something and he's a 4/4, that's super cool. So I think he's a little bit cooler in Rex. You have a unit, you attack with the unit, you pay 2, you get your trooper, you play Echo, he's a 4/4. Now my opponent needs to attack something else and it becomes a 2/2, but then you play your card for the turn, now it's back to a 4/4, and you're making it kind of awkward for your opponent. But this card is a terrible turn 1 play. You don't want to be playing a 2/2, it dies to everything. And because of that, I'm going to give it a C. You don't really want your 2-drops to be bad on turn 1. Like, that's kind of unfortunate. But I do think that, in a certain deck, especially Rex, like, he could, become a 2-drop 4/4. But it's not guaranteed. And the downside is pretty bad. Republic Tactical Officer is a 2-costed ground unit 1/4 Republic clone. When played, you may attack with a Republic unit. It gets +2/+0 for this attack. Pretty much a Fleet Lieutenant for Republic units. I like Fleet Lieutenant a lot, though Fleet Lieutenant was a little bit betterly stat costed, like a 3-mana 3/3 is a little bad, but it's fine. This you can't really play turn 1, obviously, because he's a 1/4 that would do nothing, so you have to play it later in the game. Another card that just works way better in Rex, because then on 4 resources you could do this and then use his ability, which is why I think Rex really helps fill out the curve for a lot of these guys. But at the end of the day, I think this card is a C. I think you're going to get some value from the Republic unit, but it's another example of a 2-drop that you really don't want to be playing turn 1. And it sucks that we're getting a lot of these now, and it might be showing a weakness for the green good guy color in general. So next up, we got a 3-cost Admiral Yularen. Welcome back. He is a 2/5, which are great stats, and he has Restore 1, which is nice, and each other friendly hero unit gets +0/+1. I like this guy. He's solid. Like, you're always going to include him in your deck because he has good enough stats, and, he does some incidental other stuff, so he's a B. Put him in your deck. He's good. Next up, we got Advanced Recon Commando. It is a 3-costed 4/3 ground unit with Overwhelm. Overwhelm is an okay keyword. He has 4 attack. I think this card is going to go in your deck almost always, but I wouldn't say like it's an auto include like for B. But I also don't see myself cutting a 3-mana 4/3 a lot of the time. I guess based on my scale, he's like a B- because we're probably never cutting this card, but he's nothing special. Like, he's just the 3-drop that you're going to put in your deck. So maybe we should give him like a C+. But yeah, he's just a playable card, right? Like, we're probably not cutting him. He's just playable. Yeah, well, we'll go with the C. Next up, we got, oh no, Shakti. Sorry, can't say that. Uni wins wars though, guys. He's a 4-costed ground unit. She's a 3/4. Each friendly token unit gets +1/+0. On attack, create a clone trooper token. Wow. That's a very, very powerful on attack trigger on a 4-costed unit. Sadly, she only has 4 health. Oh, she just misses the mark. So this is where those 3-mana 4/3s would just demolish her. But I will say, if your opponent played a 3-mana 3/4, she is feeling spicy. Like, her, if she attacks 1 time, you're good, right? You got 5/6 out of your stats for 4 resources, and that's amazing. I think she has crazy upside, making her a B, but I think, in the situations where she's not good, you should just resource her. But yeah, this card should just always be in your deck because it has the potential to snowball and win you the game. Next up, we have Pelta Supply Frigate. It is a 5-costed 3/6 space unit with Coordinate. When played, create a clone trooper token. This card's fine. Again, Coordinate isn't the easiest thing to do. It might happen more if you have the initiative. But if you do create a clone trooper, you're getting 5/8 of stats, which is really high. I like 6 health in space. Like, this thing isn't really going anywhere. It kind of trades with the 3/4s though, right? They would kill each other. So if you make the 2/2, maybe it's fine. I'd say like without Coordinate, it's like probably D-ish. With Coordinate, it's probably B-ish. Like, if it always made the 2/2, this card would be a B. But when it doesn't make the 2/2, it's a D. So do we just go in the middle? Call it a C? Sounds good. All right, next up we have Ayla Sakura. Sorry about that. Master of the Blade is a 5-costed 6/5 ground unit with Coordinate. Prevent all combat damage would be dealt to this unit for this attack. It's kind of like Han Solo, right, without the ambush. A pretty neat effect. But a 5-mana 6/5 are good enough stats. I haven't seen really many 4-costed 5-attack units to instantly trade with her. She's also a Force Jedi, Republic. She has like all of the keywords if you're looking for that. And then like she has like this upside of Coordinate. This card's pushing on A. I think this is like one of the definitions of oppressiveness. So you have a good stated body that you like always feel fine playing, and when you have Coordinate on the field, your opponent can barely play the game. Like, let me just go ahead, kill your leader. Like, you play the other guy to give it +2 attack, right? Hit 8, kill whatever leader you're playing, I guess besides Dooku, but play whatever leader you're playing and take no damage back. That's really oppressive, and then this will just keep repeating every turn. This card really draws you into the color. Obviously, it's a legendary, so we're not going to see it that often, but I'm going to give this one the first A of the video. Woo! Powerful. Next up, we have Republic Defense Carrier. It is 11 costed. 11 costed. 6/7 space unit. This unit costs 1 less to play for each unit controlled by the opponent who controls the most units. So our opponent always controls the most units because they're our only opponent. If that makes sense. Okay, really weirdly worded, but let's just say they have 2 units. It's going to be a 9-costed 6/7 spaceship. I think they need to have about 7 units for this card to seem good. Oh my god. It's crazy that they printed this card. Like, I know like little things are running around everywhere, but like, I don't know, let's say they have Coordinate online and they have like a 4th unit, and then there's a 7-costed 6/7 spaceship sentinel. I think you're just dead, right? Like, their units are probably all on the ground because they're playing Coordinate. So I'm like, here's my big spaceship in space. I'm dead. F. Don't play this card, it's really bad. Alright, we got a 2-costed event, Synchronized Strike. Deal damage to an enemy equal to the number of units you control in its arena. I don't like cards like this. Removal is always premium when it's reliable removal. This removal isn't. I'm going to give it a D. It's very niche. If you have, a deck that's making a bunch of little things very easily, it goes up a little bit. But yeah, this card I would avoid. Next up, we have Petition the Senate. It is a 3-costed event. If you control 3 or more official units, draw 3 cards. Don't play this card. I don't even want to count how many official units there are. Doesn't matter. This is very unreliable. Why do I need to draw 3 cards to? I don't know. Don't play this card. F. Next up, we have the double green cards. And if you guys have watched my other videos, you'll know that double green, I'm assuming we're never playing. So this card is always going to cost 2 more than it says. All right, so I'm going to call it a 4-costed card. So it is a 4-costed ground unit. 0/4. When you play another unit, you may exhaust this unit. If you do, search the top 4 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it, and draw it. A 4-costed 0/4 is below an F, whatever letter you want to go to, maybe a Z. Never play this card. Next up, we have Manufactured Soldiers. It is a 5-costed event. Choose 1, create 2 clone trooper tokens, and maybe we should say that, hey, if you somehow play double green, this card is probably still a D. It doesn't have any stats, so yes, it can draw you a card, but I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I wouldn't play that card, okay? Manufactured Soldiers, yeah, so it's creating 2 clone trooper tokens or 3 battle droid tokens. If you find yourself in double green, this card's going to feel like, I don't know, an A, because you're making 2 2/2s, like that's really good. Maybe a B, I don't know if it's like that powerful, at least a B to make 2 clone trooper tokens. But big but here, this card probably costs 5, and I probably almost never play this card. 5 resources for 2 2/2s is like just enough to maybe include if my deck needed something that costs 5. So for that, I'll give it a D. You're going to cut this card most of the time. If you need a 5-drop, add this one in. We have Pyrrhic Assault. another double green card, 3 to 5 cost. For this phase, each friendly unit gains when defeated, deal 2 damage to an enemy unit. This is a legendary, which is really nice because that means we probably won't see it. And we don't like seeing F cards anyway. All right, we're finally just on the green card, so this is the long stretch of the video. First up, we have a 1-costed 1/1 ground unit. Separatist Droid Trooper, has Raid 1, has when defeated, you may give a Trooper unit +2/+2 for this phase. This card should probably never be in your deck unless you're really, really, really aggro, and even then, you better hope you played another 1-drop Trooper alongside of it. That way, if they choose to kill this card first because it's a 1/1, your other guy gets super big and you can hit him in the face. I don't really think we should be playing this card at all most of the time. I'm going to hesitantly give it a D. I'll say if you really want to make a super aggressive deck, then of course you want to play this 1-drop because it can swing for 2 maybe and has a secondary effect. We have another 1-drop 0/4 Steadfast Center. Action, pay 2, tap it. Attack with the unit gets +2/+0 for this attack. So obviously you can play it turn 1. Next turn you can tap it, pay 2, target itself, not attack, give it +2 attack, and scoop the game. So I really don't know when you really want to be playing Steadfast Senator. Obviously you want to be playing it turn 1, but when are you going to use its effects? I have no idea. This card is dog water. Let's give it an F. It's even worse in an aggro deck. Don't get tempted into seeing its 1-cost stats. Next up, we have Coruscant Guard. It is a 2-costed 3/2. So here's the example of the stats you should be at. My number on 2 should add up to 5. So this automatically makes it playable. It sometimes has Ambush, which I really like, and we're going to put that all the way up to a B. This card should always be in your deck. It is the epitome of a 2-drop. It does what you want it to do the turn 1 of the game, and then sometimes can ambush sneakily and maybe value trade. Next up, we have Ryloth Militia. It is a 2-costed 2/3 ground unit. She has Raid 1. Okay, another example. This is just a fine 2-drop. Sometimes it swings for 3, so she can kill other 2/3s, which is pretty cool when you have the initiative. She's just a playable card. We'll give her a C. If I have a million 2-drops, like if I have 5 Coruscant guards, I'm gonna play this card over the Militia. Excuse me. Next up, we have 501st Liberator. It is a 3-costed 3/3 ground unit. When played, if you control another Republic unit, you may heal 3 damage from a base. Stats are 1 below that they should be. In fact, maybe even 2 below, judging by the way the game's been going. They've been printing a lot of 3/5s for whatever reason, and 4/4s now. They're really pushing what stats can be and should look like. Healing 3 is fine. I mean, we're playing sealed, so you don't really need to heal 3. This card is on the low range of C. It's definitely playable, but it's the card that you'll be cutting more times than not when you have a better 3-drop option. Next up, we have a good 3-drop option. It is a 3-costed 2/4 Jedi Droid. Hello. When played, choose another friendly unit. While this unit is in play, the chosen unit gets +2/+2. I really, really like this card. You put it down, you put it on your 2-drop, you make your 2-drop go from a 2/3 to a 4/5. You always kill their 3-drop if you have the ability, or you just hit them in the face for 4. Let them then claim, and then you hit them next turn with it, and they're not killing your 2/4 because it has 4 HP. I really like this card a lot. Gonna give it a B. You should always put it in your deck. It's powerful. Not super powerful. Next up, here it is, Blank Text, and I'm gonna give this card B. I really like space units that are 3/4. This card should just always go in your deck. Always play it. It doesn't matter that it's a vanilla. This card is great. Next up, we have Subjugating Starfighter. Is a 4-costed 3/3 space unit with ambush, and I've shown you 2 3/4 space units already. This card does have an on-play effect that if you have the initiative, you can summon a Battle Droid token, making its total stats 4/4, but getting a 1/1 on the ground is a little weak on 4 resources, as well as getting a 3/3 in space with ambush is pretty weak. Obviously, this can kill 2-drop spaceships, but I'm not really excited about playing this card. I think it's a little bit niche, and maybe can exist in the sideboard against someone who's really space heavy, but I would steer clear of this card. I'm going to give it a D. Next up, we have a 5-costed ground unit, the B2 Legionnaires. They are 5/4 and have Sentinel and Overwhelm. It has 4 defense, kind of sad, but it has Sentinel. which means you should put in your deck because Sentinel is good. So I'll give it at least a C. I do think you can get just value trade on this card a lot of the time because it doesn't really have any protection on itself. Like there's no like shield, there's not enough HP. So it can die pretty simply, but hey, it's a Sentinel unit, so it's playable. Next up, we have a 5-costed 4/4 Clone Commander Cody. It is a ground unit, Republic Clone Trooper with Overwhelm, but only a 4/4. Each other friendly unit gets +1/+1 and gains Overwhelm when we have Coordinate active. This is a great example of a win more card, but maybe even a win more card that I'm willing to play. It has bad stats. Like, I don't even know why they gave this card Overwhelm. Like, it's so small. But it can come down to make everything else bigger and have Overwhelm, which is, like, really scary. The problem is like, you really need to value trade with those, and hopefully they're not living at 1 HP, because your opponent's 5-drop will just kill this, and then, you know, your guys will lose the 1 health that they're getting from them, and then they might die. I mean, if you're ahead on board, this card will just end the game. But I'm gonna give him a C. I'm a little hesitant on this ranking though. The 5-drops haven't been that impressive besides the legendary we've seen so far. So, you know, like this just might be like what we're doing. Obviously it trades with this card. So, hey. Next up we have, and he's a 6-costed 3/6 ground unit with exploit 3. This unit captures an enemy non-leader ground unit with cost equal to or less than the number of resources paid to play this unit. Okay, I kind of like the idea of, I mean, you know, the problem with him is, like, you don't want to exploit 3, because then he doesn't capture anything. So you could, you know, exploit 1, just kill 1 unit, make it a 4-costed 3/6. That feels fine. And then you capture a 4-drop. That actually feels pretty good, right? I don't know. Like, you can play him on curve and capture a 6-drop. The capture mechanic isn't like anything impressive, but it could be a good tempo swing. He has 6 health, which is a little sticky. So you could just remove your opponent's real big problem. And yeah, I don't know. You could play this off color and capture 8 drops. Now we're really thinking. I'm going to give this card a B. Yeah. It's kind of hard to evaluate though. We'll see how it goes. There aren't many cards in this set right now that capture. If you notice, green has like no removal, so this might be a removal. Next up, we have Clone is a ground unit 0/0. You may have this unit enter play as a copy of a non-leader, non-vehicle unit in play, except it gains the clone trait and is not unique. So your opponent has a really good card. You play this, boom, copy it. Now you can value trade with it next turn. This is a legendary. You're not going to see it often. I think this card is like a D. I think it's niche. I think there are scenarios where like Clone's going to feel really good, but it doesn't copy leaders, doesn't copy space units, and like at best, I mean, you could copy like a really cool on-play effect, but yeah, I'm going to give it a D. I think it's niche. I think it's hard to use. Next up, we have an 8-drop, 5/6, the Bactoid Spider Droid. It is as exploit 2, and has ambush. Man, these exploit cards are hard to evaluate, right? Obviously, if I'm playing this card for 4 resources and it's a 5/6 that has ambush, is like the most broken card I've ever seen. So I really, really want 1/1s. If my deck has 1/1s, like easily accessible, you know, maybe even at 6 resources at a 5/6, I think that's pretty reasonable. There's a lot of guys that make tokens in this format. I think this card is approaching a B. I think that you never want to pay 8 for this card. You feel decent-ish paying 6 if you kill a 1/1. You feel great killing 2 1/1s if you play for 4. How many 1/1s are we going to have, though? This is the question, guys. These cards are hard to evaluate. So, you know, if you have lots of 1/1s, this card goes up in value. If you don't have lots of ways to make 1/1s, this card goes way down in value. So that will be your range. How many 1/1s do you have? The more you have, play this card. The less you have, consider cutting it. Next up, we have Gore. I'm not a fan of this one. It is as exploit 3. It's a 12-costed 7/7 ground unit. Grievous's pet with exploit 3, Sentinel, ambush, and overwhelm. He's got all the keywords in the game. Let's say you kill 3 1/1s and he's costing 6 for a 7/7. Getting to 3 1/1s, though, is a lot. and you never paying 12 for this. You're never paying 10 for this. And did I go too far? 10, 8, 6? Yeah. I don't even know if you really want to pay 8 for this. I don't like this card. It's a legendary again, so luckily you don't have to like think too much. You just probably won't see it. But I think this card is probably an F. I don't know, like I could be nice and give it a D and say, hey, it's niche, like, and maybe you'll have the deck scenario where this can go in. But there's most scenarios where I don't want to play this card. Like I said, I don't think I want to pay it for 10 or 12. 8 is, debatable. It's probably maybe good enough at 8, but then I have to kill 2 guys. Yeah, this card's rough. Rough. I will say, if you have a deck that plays all the 1/1s and you're playing Dooku and you give this card Exploit 4, making it a 4-drop 7/7 Sentinel Ambush Overwhelm, you will win the game. But good luck getting 4 1/1s. Unless we play the event that makes 4 1/1s, and we combo with our gore for ultimate value. Next up, we have Nameless Valor. It is a 1-costed upgrade. You guys know I love upgrades. Attached to a token unit. Attached unit gains Overwhelm. Bad. I mean, there are a lot of tokens in this format, but again, removal does exist, while it doesn't exist too much in green. But even capturing a token unit means it never comes back, which, we could talk about that other card a little bit more. There's a lot of tokens, so you could just play it and remove a token, deal 2 damage, which really moves up the value of that other card if we go, like, way back. Maybe this card's even an A. It's a really weird card to evaluate with the exploit. But yeah, don't play upgrades, guys. I'm going to give this one an F. I think it would be a D if you could attach it to any unit, but it has to be a token unit. So we're making our 2/2s 4/4s and our 1/1s 3/3s. Wow. Next up, we have Strategic Acumen. He is a 1-costed 0/2 upgrade. Attach unit gains. Tap this, play a unit from your hand. It costs 1 less. Guys, I'm sorry. I know people like upgrades. It's cool to upgrade your guy. This card's bad. I mean, let's say you play your 1-drop 0/4 unit. You give it this upgrade. Now it's a 0/6, so it's cooking. And now you can tap it to play your 4-drop next turn. Ooh. Like, wouldn't you rather just exploit at that point? Wouldn't you rather just kill your 0/4 and use, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't play upgrades, F. All right, next up we have General's Blade. It's a 3-costed 3/3 attached to a non-vehicle unit. If the attached unit is a Jedi, it gains on attack. The next unit you play this phase costs 2 less. Now here's an example of an upgrade I might be willing to play. Now I don't like getting 2-for-1s, but I like 3/3. So I play my 2/3, I give it this, it becomes a 5/6. I think that can get out of hand. Yes, you are on the risk of getting 2-for-1s, but on the immediate next turn, if you get your attack off and then they kill you and 2-for-1 you, like now maybe we can play, what turn would this be on? 4? Like now we can play a 6-drop on 4 resources. Like that's pretty hot. I actually really like this one. I know I'm really hard on upgrades, but ones like this that I can play on curve, and notice I don't have to attach it. Like if this card made me attach it to a force unit or said, I don't know. I guess the on attack is with a Jedi. Darn. I got really excited. I don't know why I overlooked that. Yeah, okay, we'll give this card a C. I think if, it was all like if it was just always on a Jedi, this card would actually be nuts, right? That'd be too strong. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, it's a C though. I think the stats are good enough. I don't like getting 2-for-1s. Like personally, I tend to cut upgrades, but you guys will definitely see this card floating around there. So don't think that everyone else will be cutting it. And when it goes on a Jedi, this card's hot. All right, definitely higher than a C. Next up, we have a 3-costed upgrade squad support attached to a non-leader unit. Attached unit gains. This unit gets +1/+1 for each trooper unit you control. He's kind of cool on Rex, right? Oh wait, it's not cool on Rex because you can't put it on a leader unit. What is wrong with this game? They're like, that is a little upsetting. So you get +0/+0. And for it to be as good as the General's Blade, you need 3 trooper units. Why? Why do they do this? And you can't even put on your leader. Why? They printed Boba Fett's armor. F, don't play this card. Next up, we have the Clone Wars. It is a 2-costed disaster event. Pay any number of resources, create that many clone trooper tokens. Each opponent creates that many battle droid tokens. Have you been calling them druids? I feel like I've been calling battle druids. That'd be insane. Hopefully I didn't do that. Okay, so I should read it again. This card's a little weird, right? Let's say I have 7 resources. I pay 2 for this card. I have 5 left. I pay all 5. I make 5 2/2s. My opponent makes 5 1/1s. That's a little risky in this game because Exploit is running around, Coordinate's running around. You're turning on your opponent's squad support. Just kidding, because they're droids. But, you know, oh my god, wait a minute. Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? The infinite damage. So for Clone Wars, guys, I think you should probably avoid this card. You could say for each resource you pay, you're getting 1/1 more stats than your opponent. But I really don't like giving them cards. You can get like Omega punished. Though I will say, like, the 1/1s can't kill the 2/2s. So if you guys are like even on board and they're like kind of low on life, this card's kind of a crazy top deck. Because you're like, here's my 5 or 6 2/2s. You can have the 1/1s, and my 2s are all just going to go to your face, and you're going to die. And I actually think that scenario could happen. I don't know. This card is really interesting. I'm going to give it the D because I think it is niche. But I will say, if you're a decent player, I think you can manufacture a scenario where the Clone Wars creates lethal. So do keep that in mind. This is a 3-costed event, encouraging leadership. Give each friendly unit +1/+1 for this phase. I don't like temporary effects. I don't like it when they cost this much. F, don't ever play it. Next up, we have Resupply. Play this card. Yay! I like Resupply. I mean, before in set 1, when Resupply was there, we could ramp into like really impactful leaders. Like Darth Vader was super impactful. Palpatine was super impactful. I think Yoda will be pretty impactful. So like Yoda, paired with green. I think Dooku, as a 5'9", I wouldn't say he's impactful, but he's a huge body. Impactful means like, the leader does something when it comes into play. Like Yoda might kill a unit. Darth Vader was doing damage. So, yeah. I don't know. Resupply, I think it's a C. I think you always play in your deck. I think if your deck really wants to ramp, it's going to feel like a B. Next up, we have Take Captive. This was in the last set. A friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. Not keen on capturing effects, but it's like green's only form of interaction. So like sometimes this is just going to be in your deck. I'm going to give it a D. I really don't think you should be playing cards like this though. But sometimes you might have to. Now we have In Defense of Kamino as a 4-costed event. For this phase, each friendly Republic unit gains Restore 2, and when defeated, create a Clone Trooper token. I don't know. It's only for this phase. I wish it was like forever. My units, when they die, make 2/2s. So you again need to manufacture a scenario where you have some small guys that you want to trade into them, and then you make a bunch of 2/2s. I think if you're able to put this on 3 units, it probably becomes pretty valuable. But it costs 4, so how am I putting on 3 units? God, all these cards, they really made this set is probably one of the most hard to evaluate limited sets I've ever seen, just because they're so weird, right? The Restore 2, I don't know if that matters too much. It does need to be a Republic unit, so I guess we can't put this card in our 1/1s. I'm going to say avoid this card like the plague. I think it's too big brain, and no, but I think this card is a pretty hard card to use, hard card to set up for, and like even harder card to win from. Like I think it's just a straight up F. If you want me to be nice, I can give it the niche rating of a D. Whew, we did it, guys. We got through all of the cards. It's been a while since I made a video, and I apologize for that. We're going to make all the other colors, so tomorrow, hopefully look forward to the next color, which I think is red, Woo! But yeah, we're gonna do the 4 colors, and then we should do the neutral ones, and then we'll be done. If you guys enjoy this video or have any recommendations for future videos, let me know in the comments below. And as always, guys, I appreciate you so much for watching. I hope you guys are looking forward to pre-release as much as I am. And as always, peace.